How many subscriptions do you guys have? I think these days everything's subscription, right? Especially Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. And even like I've heard that pet monitoring camera in for like your car, you need to buy the camera and then you have to subscribe to be able to use the services. And I really don't like subscriptions. I really don't like pay for them. That's why I don't have Spotify, Netflix, all these things a lot of people have. And I'm okay with that because I do find alternatives. And I think a lot of people, and another thing that I really like about it is that, for example, especially with Netflix, I feel like if I paid for Netflix, even if when I don't want to, I feel like I would have to watch something just to get the value out of it. And not having that, and because of my lack of self-control, not being able to access it gives me the opportunity to do other things, to get out there a little bit more than I would have if I had Netflix. So, but I think, of course, that's not the right answer either. I think that, of course, the answer is somewhere in between, where you have the Netflix, but you also have the self-control to be able to be moderate in terms of consumption level. But when I saw this video, it intrigued me. It's a video by Veronica Explains. It's called I Stream Nothing and I'm Happy. So I wanted to try something new today. We'll watch this video together and we'll react to it. Let's go.
2 years ago, I made the decision to cut the cord on nearly all streaming services. Since then, I've had a fantastic time reconnecting with physical media, paper books, and myself. Okay, story time. It was the late 2000s. I'd been a Netflix subscriber for a while by that point, back when Netflix sent you physical discs which you'd queue up, watch, and then mail back.
I never knew Netflix did that. It's crazy how much these big companies change from the start to where they are now. I think, for example, like Amazon, they started by selling just books. They were like a bookstore and secondhand bookstore, if I'm correct. And look at them now, they sell basically anything. And it's really cool to see how it evolved. And also goes to show that you don't really start off by having this insane architecture. You start from something small, then you need something and you improve something every day, and then you become one of the giants like that. That's cool.
This was after years of being a video rental store junkie. Then, all of a sudden, around the same time I was graduating from college into no job market, Netflix launched this streaming platform where you could watch a good chunk of the catalog for less than the price of a single retail DVD. Of course I signed up. I had the app on my Nintendo Wii, and even though the video quality felt subpar compared with a nice DVD player, the value couldn't be beat, and I was hooked. Of course, when Netflix launched, it was the only major player in the space. But since then, the proliferation of streaming platforms has led to some less than ideal conditions. And I probably don't have to give you a list, but I'm gonna try.
I don't know what's going on in the background. Like this, what is that? Is that application is running on her computer? But it looks cool. I really like the setup of the video and the style.
Fracturing availability of content. Continually raising prices while providing an inadequate streaming experience. Locking out Linux users. Removing content the service finds objectionable. Algorithmically driven recommendations which take away the natural human instinct toward discussion and discovery, further contributing to a critical thinking gap at exactly the time in human civilization when we should be expanding the ability to think for ourselves. Subpar original content. So yeah, after about 15 years of dealing with streaming, I decided to pull the plug. Well, for the most part. I still pay for RiffTrax Best Friends tier because I'm a Misty for life and it's easy to support a hometown team, especially when my subscription dollars give me a heavy discount on DRM free downloads. And I still pay for YouTube Premium in order to obliterate ads without jeopardizing Veronica.
Who pays for YouTube Premium? I think it's a debate that I find really interesting. I know a lot of YouTubers, they leave the ads on, and I can see why. It's because they expect others to do it for them, and therefore they do it themselves. But I think these days ad blocker is so necessary. I think because just even being shown ads, I think it's a breach of privacy. So I definitely understand that a lot of you will be watching this on ad-free, without paying for YouTube Premium. And yeah, I think maybe my thought on this will mature over time, but right now I use ad blocker. I use Brave to not watch YouTube ads. So yeah, but this is an interesting debate.
Explains. See, if I even mention that you can watch ad-free with programs like Free or even from the there's a good chance YouTube takes down my video and hurts my channel in the long run.
So I don't know, is that true? Because there's so many services now that you can use to watch without ads, like the ones that we have mentioned. Would this video be flagged then? I don't know, we'll see.
So on this one, I decided to be pragmatic in order to avoid the rigmarole. And it seems like a lot of you feel the same way. I take a small amount of comfort knowing that I'm extracting more money from YouTube than I'm putting in personally. Plus, I always put the episodes up on PeerTube if you'd rather watch there. Hint, hint. But beyond YouTube and RiffTrax, I cut streaming completely out of my life. That means no more Netflix, crummy Netflix, HBO Pro Max, and Trekamount Plus. And my family and I couldn't be happier reconnecting with physical media and getting away from the algorithm. Now, I'm not going to tell you how you should get your media, but I have a very healthy collection of Blu-rays, DVDs, and CDs that I've picked up over my several decades of existence.
When I used to listen to a lot of music, and I never had Spotify subscriptions, I used to go to the library, get music CDs out, and then download them on my computer. And then I will have a quote-unquote physical copy of them myself. And it felt good. It made me feel like there's like more of a connection between the artist and myself. And if I really like an album, I'll go out of my way to buy it physical copy, just as a collection kind of thing. But yeah, it's something that I enjoyed doing. I don't do anymore.
I naturally come across a lot of this stuff while thrifting or hitting up garage sales. And what I can't find there, eBay makes easy enough. Just be aware that sometimes the cheapest options are counterfeits, if that's something that matters to you. I typically toss out the cheaper DVD or Blu-ray sleeves in order to save space. But I do hold on to fancier disc packaging or items where I want the nostalgia hit of occasionally putting the disc in the player and fiddling with the menus. For movies and TV shows, I typically use MakeMKV to rip the media and Handbrake to transcode and compress the files for smaller storage. I'm sure the comments will be littered with folks offering opinions on what codecs to use, but I'll share my own preferred settings over on my website, vkc.sh. Anyway, a nice thing about MakeMKV is watching Blu-rays and DVDs right from the home theater PC using MakeMKV's libraries. Your distro might need some dependencies and a Java runtime for disk menus, but once you get all that squared away, VLC typically picks them up without issue. And now I don't need to have a standalone Blu-ray player out anymore. In my opinion, MakeMKV is software that's well worth paying for. It's only $60 US, and that's cheaper than a 4K Blu-ray player. And if you want the most flexible Blu-ray experience, be on the lookout for a reader that supports LibreDrive, an aftermarket firmware for certain Blu-ray devices, which removes firmware restrictions, making 4K ripping possible, as well as getting around region locks. It can be hard to find a compatible model. Years ago, I picked up this LG portable drive, and my home theater PC uses an internal ASUS model. Now, for music CDs, I typically use Asunder, a dead simple ripping program that I've seen packaged up for almost every Linux distro.
Another thing that you can use for music CDs that I used to do is on iTunes. When you put in music CDs, you can play music through iTunes, but you can also download them to your local computer. That was super useful for me.
Makes ripping an album into FLAC files incredibly easy. If you're on Windows or a Mac, maybe look at FreeAC? Is that how you pronounce it? When the ripping and converting wraps up, I drop the files into a shared folder on my network where Jellyfin can serve them. As of 2025, Jellyfin is my favorite server for hosting media. I never got along with Plex, and I used Emby for a while, but both of those products are less than totally free, so nowadays I skip right over them. My favorite part of using Jellyfin is that there's a simple extension for Kodi, everyone's favorite set-top box replacement software, that gives Kodi access to a Jellyfin library as though it's native. While on my computer, Jellyfin is a great media player, on my TV, I much prefer the traditional remote control-driven setup. A Flirk receiver makes my home theater PC.
So Jellyfin is like you can upload your media there and you can play it on it, and it becomes like a personal Netflix. I've never heard of it, but that sounds really cool. And I don't know if that's it, but it sounds really cool if that's it.
Work easily with my ancient Logitech remote control. As far as my cell phone goes, Jellyfin currently lacks offline storage management for music. But luckily there's a front end for Android called Finamp, which gives me a traditional music player experience, complete with offline sync.
Why not just... Because normally on phones, there is usually like a dedicated music app. And if you have a physical copy of it, can you not just upload it just there? Or maybe with other apps, it's easier to manage? Yeah.
This way, I don't need to open a VPN to home in order to play back my tune.
So I don't think she's putting the music directly on the phone, if I understand correctly.
That is when I'm not just using my iPod or my Tangara.
That looks cool. I don't know what that is, but that looks really cool. Reminds me of, old school iPod.
Movies, TV, and music are only some of the battle, though. I gave up buying DRM-laden ebooks and audiobooks and decided to switch back to good old paper books. For real, have you seen these things?
Yeah, I'm with her actually. I did try getting into ebooks like Kindle and Kobo, and they have their usage. Like for example, when I was in New Zealand, I really wanted to read books in French, and I would have to order them, and I didn't want that. I just wanted to start reading right away, and that was super useful. And if I don't find the book, or if I just want to start reading something really quickly, then it's just so useful to just go online, buy the book, start reading. But yeah, you can't beat the physical book. And now that I'm in France and I can go to the library and get physical books out, yeah, I read physical books. I prefer it that way. My Kobo is collecting dust now. So here's my Percy Jackson book that I'm reading in French. It's cool.
There's a ton of exciting features. For one, the publisher can't remove or modify sections after purchase, which is kind of awesome.
Yeah, I've heard that about Amazon. That's why I bought Kobo instead of Kindle. Kobo is with Rakuten. And yeah, I've heard that Amazon still owns the books, even if you pay for them, so that they can delete and modify the books, even if you have paid for them.
Plus, if the bookstore I bought it from loses access in a rights dispute, this paper book stays in my collection. Novel, right? This isn't a novel. And it's not just traditional fiction and nonfiction texts that I've been collecting. I have a large and growing collection of manuals for software I use every day, new and old, because as we've all experienced, it's increasingly challenging to maintain reliable access to this information over the web. But this hard copy, it's always in my library, and I don't need an ad blocker to read it.
And I don't know why, but I feel like when I read physical books, I concentrate better. And I have more fun reading things. I think it's just the physical touch, the sensation of it. It helps the brain somehow process it better, and it's more fun for the brain and so on.
All that aside, the biggest reason why I went this route, beyond all of the annoyances and the ethical concerns, is that I'm sick and tired of algorithms telling me what I would like. I'm a whole person, just like you, complicated and weird at times. I was a young adult 20 years ago before these streaming technologies really took off, and I remember distinctly how I used to have to think about what content I was going to consume. I mean, yeah, TV and radio existed, but even that was more deliberate than a world where your phone recommends clickbait to you every time you touch it.
Yeah, I think that's privacy. No, it's more of a moral. No, I don't even know how to put it. But for example, YouTube recommendations is there so that people stay on YouTube, right? And there's an argument that I've heard that's unethical because you're basically trying to get people addicted to the product. Yeah, but having said that, there's also a lot of pros because you get to discover the different creators and different videos that in the area that you are interested in. There are other people that uses different accounts of YouTube for different interests because the algorithm is way too good so that once you get into an algorithm, you can't really get out of it. Yeah, it's an interesting debate.
Back then, you had to think, do I want to listen to this song? Or do I want to watch this movie? A lot more than you do today. Now, a corporate-driven algorithm just plays the next thing for you. And to be perfectly honest with you all, it's pissing me off. See, as a parent, it saddens me to see the algorithmic helplessness take hold amongst my peers, because I know that it's going to make the following generations have to work a lot harder to take care of us. I feel like we owe it to ourselves and to those who follow us to try and break free of algorithms which tell us what we should like, who we should believe, and how we should feel about it. It may sound melodramatic, and maybe it is, but I see the increased dependence on algorithmically driven entertainment as a symptom of that larger problem. Uber convenience that separates us from our critical thinking. We're learning to abandon reason for small decisions, and wouldn't you know it, now it's easier to ignore reasons for the larger ones. I'm not here to tell you what to think. I was raised in a mind-your-own-damn-business household, and that's where my head is at. But I do want to implore all of us to think critically about how streaming media, autoplay, and the algorithm are impacting us. Not just you and me, but us.
I think that's a fair point. I think there's something to be said about algorithms and letting the machine decide for you what you're going to watch next. And I think getting a hold of that and just being aware of that I think is important.
Are we losing something when we don't get to own the music that pumps us up in the morning? When we outsource the date night movie to an algorithm? When we rely on an iPad and autoplay instead of critically evaluating the media we give to our children? I'm sick of it. And since getting rid of the streaming platforms, I'm happier.
I can hear that. I think there's something to be said about struggling a little bit and there's fun in that. Like a date night movie, what do you want to watch? Rather than just being like, oh, Netflix says this is good, let's just watch that. Versus being able to decide together with your partner what you want to watch. And there's something sweet and very human about that.
Maybe you will be too.
1, 2, 3, 4.
this is really cool. I hope the music's not copyrighted. Outro song.
I didn't even get into the privacy issues with smart TVs. But you know who just did? Lon Seidman. He's got a new video about it, which I'll link in the description. That'll do for this one. Until next time, this is Veronica Explains. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, that's an interesting video, and what she says is interesting, and I think there's a very big topics of discussion there. Yeah, but it's really cool to see that what she says comes from a good heart, caring for the human interactions and for her children and future generations. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's Veronica Explains. I will link in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.